Good morning. How are you? Okay, so let's see that. What have I left out? Let's see. Just give me a moment. Oh boy. Sorry about that banner that came on just before. That was not the correct banner, but hey, you know how these tech things are. But glad to have you here this morning. And indeed, today is the last of the series on the raising your standards. Because if you remember, we're looking at raising your standards, and I was dealing with the whole idea behind standards and how best to make those work. So we're on the fourth part, and today we are on actually the fifth part. Hold on, I put the label there. 5. Okay, so with this particular part, we are winding up a series which has been based around the 7 major key factors to transforming Africa. Those of you who are familiar, I did run an entire series called The 5 Major Reasons Africa's Poor. We looked at that. I even wrote a book around it. I did a TED Talk on the same subject. And so today we are continuing on the second of the 7 reasons or factors to transforming Africa. So how do we see Africa transform into the top-notch continent it's supposed to be? So we looked at number 1, which is take responsibility, the idea behind accepting the role you play, the role I play in seeing Africa becoming what it is today. And until as individuals we can learn to take responsibility for things that we are directly in charge of, we can never progress. So the idea behind that first series of lessons was that Africa needs to take responsibility. Today, then from there, we went to the second one, which is raising your standards. And I gave very detailed information around standards and how they work and what you can see and how you can create that kind of power and see yourself progress in a profound way. So today we are now looking at another series. This is basically around, again, raising your standards, but how exactly to avoid mediocrity and how to work around that and see to it that you actually go to the best place possible. In other words, how do you see yourself as an individual or the continent altogether see progress? What are the factors? Now, remember that in raising standards, I'm not just talking about the continent, but I'm also talking about ourselves. So you will see that the lessons that come your way are going to be very, very powerful when it comes to helping you realize what it takes to really go to the next level. Now, I've just realized that I need to change my internet very quickly. Give me a moment, because the one that I'm using is renowned for breaking halfway. So just give me a second as we get that done. So, like I was saying, this is what we're going to be learning today. Now, before I go on, let me mention that the 730 Mentorship Academy is a program that we run, not just by myself, but I also have 3, in fact, we have, 5, so in total, 4 other people besides myself, 5 of us in total, who see to it that we've collaborated to bring these lessons to you every single morning. And so on Mondays, I am the one that comes through with Unleashing Your Destiny. And then on Tuesday, we have Sunshine Sylvia, or Coach Sunshine, who comes through with Mindset Change program. On Wednesdays, we have the open market. So Wednesdays when it's pretty much open and anybody can be a part of what we're doing. And then on Thursdays, we have Dr. Nelly Kangwa, and she comes on with Prosperity for Your Soul. And then on Friday, we have Dr. Jacqueline Molundika with Health Tips. And many times, we also have Dr. John Mwanga, he's in Germany right now, who also comes through and stands in on Dr. Jacqueline Mwansa's behalf, Molundika's behalf for that particular program. We also have one member of ours who's usually in the background, but very, very helpful, and that's Dr. Stephen Mwansa. So this is what I would call the 730 team. We've been running with that for now 4 years, and that's why you see that 4 right there on your screen. And the idea behind that 4 is that we've been on this journey for 4 years, very proud. When we hit April, will be officially 5 years, in fact, March 20th. So I'm extremely excited. When we hit 5 again, we'll run and we'll not be stopping this. We intend to create a legacy around these morning calls. So today, please, if you're watching right now, tag somebody, let them know that we're live. And I'm here to take you through some very exciting insight on how we can raise our standards and what to do to avoid mediocrity. So the actual subject today is around mediocrity. So let me now go into this. So like I told you, we are going to look. I'm gonna ask you who's viewing right now to carry out some deep introspection and use this section that I'm now on to determine how best to enact higher standards at all levels in your life and ultimately for the benefit of our nation and of course the continent. Right, so to do this, to really see your standards go up. Remember last time I was looking at the 7 tips for creating a culture of excellence. Now, what can we do to now kind of take that off the ground? So first of all, number 1, define what is no longer acceptable for you. You have to clearly define what is no longer acceptable. So write down what we will no longer accept in our lives and what will no longer be tolerated anymore. Okay, this alone is a serious exercise that calls for a deeper search and coming to terms with what we have accepted in the past. Okay, are we willing to continue putting up with substandard mediocrity, or are we willing to push ourselves beyond to a greater standard? Remember Toyota and Kaizen when I was speaking earlier on, well, not today, but some time back, just on these lessons. They propagate a culture of constant improvement, and so must we. So then, what are we willing to no longer accept and tolerate anymore? And I think this is a deep question for every one of you watching right now and those who watch later. To ask yourself, what are you willing to put up with? And what are you willing to no longer put up with? And that's, I think, a very important question to deeply, deeply reflect on. Because my experience has been, you can only put up with things that you have accepted. If you have accepted certain things in your life, then don't complain about the rubbish. There's a saying in English, it goes, what does it say? It says, if you cannot stand the heat, don't go into the kitchen. Right. I'll take that to another level. If you're not marketing, don't advertise. You see, these are terms and teachings that are so profound when you go deep into them. A lot of people want their cake and they want to have their cake and to eat it at the same time. You can't do that. So it's either one or the other. Or in the words of Donald Trump on The Apprentice, you can either make money or make excuses. You can't do both. So what am I telling you? I'm basically saying, what is it that's no longer acceptable in your life? You need to define that. What are you no longer going to keep accepting in the name of, I don't know, low standards? If you know in your life that this is really substandard crap, this is mediocrity, but you keep accepting it. So the fact that you keep accepting it means then don't complain about it. Okay, if you can't stand the heat, don't go in the kitchen. If you're going to go into the kitchen, then be ready to deal with the heat. Be ready to get burnt from time to time. That's what kitchens involve. So these are things that you must define. Define what is no longer acceptable. Then the second one, define what you'd like to become. Okay? We must then write down, and this is the part that a lot of people who talk about, I want to be better, like I've got a lot of people always come to me, oh, really, I would like you to mentor me. I just look at them and I don't roll my eye in front of them, but I just know for a fact that most people just have wishes. They don't have what it takes to really succeed. They don't have the bite and the drive. And that's why most people will never succeed. Not because they can't succeed, but because they won't succeed. Do you see the difference? They just don't have the will to do what it takes to make it. Take, for instance, showing up just for these calls. We've been doing these for 5 years, for almost 5 years. Free. Some of the most powerful stuff is right here. But I don't know, people want you to baby them. Yet any serious person will just go on our channels, YouTube, wherever, you will find tons of stuff, and just kind of start sorting through all of it and then deliberately start to learn everything that's there. And you'll be blown away with what stuff you can learn just off that alone. And that's powerful mentorship without having to even deal with me, because that content is out there, and it's not just me. It's Dr. Nelly, it's Sunshine, Coach Sunshine, Sylvia. That stuff is out there. But I don't know, I don't know, people want you to come and, oh, baby, you know, that's why they can't progress. You have to decide what you want to become. Write down the things that we wish to become as people, both at personal level, at corporate level, and at national level. What are we now? Are we happy with where we are? Is that what we should accept and remain as? Are we tapping into our true potential? Dr. Sunshine Sylvia hates the word potential, because for the last 40 odd years, we as Zambians have been fed that line about potential, especially when it comes to sectors within our economy that could be developed into full-fledged industries that would improve the overall standard of life for our citizens. I mean, here we are, 60 years. You realize that in a few days, you realize that we just clocked 60 years of independence, and 50 years now since we began our economic diversification. In fact, 51, because we were talking about the economic diversification program back in 1973 when I was just a 1-year-old baby. That's when Zambia started its journey of so-called economic diversification. Okay, and we still haven't fully diversified our economy yet. I mean, 51 years. What is our excuse? 49. Sorry, it was 1973, so 49. No, it is 51. 1973. Yeah, 51 years later. I'm even ashamed to think about it, right? So the real issue here is, what would you like to see ourselves become? How can we seriously embark or continue faster on that journey towards accomplishing this? Okay, we must also clearly indicate how we would like to be defined going forward. How have we been defined before? How are we being defined now? Are we satisfied with this definition? Take, for instance, the fact that we have, as a continent, been called beggars, because we always go with a begging bowl to international platforms seeking developmental aid, and yet we have all the minerals, land, commodity, and human resources we need to ensure we remain self-sustainable and even prosperous if we are willing to do what it takes to make it happen. Our definition at personal level must be upgraded at every level, including how we dress, our looks, our personal brand and its power, our output, our results, our quality of work, our delivery, our services. I mean, pretty much every aspect of our life. You have to define what an upgrade means. What are you doing now, and where would you like to be? In the corporate circles, it's called service level delivery, service level agreements, rather. And if you think about service level agreements and service level delivery, it means, what am I willing to operate at minimally? Okay? In short, we need to get serious about our reputation in every way, because value is always perceived. Value is determined not by ourselves per se, but by those who we target. And so the impressions we create have lasting effects. Now, we must deliberately choose to always be adding value to everything we do. We must stop selling ourselves short. Africa has, since the inception of colonialism, and now even during our post-independence era, still remained exporting raw materials instead of finished products. As such, we always get a raw deal, because even the prices of our materials isn't determined by ourselves, but by those whom we sell through an international exchange. This alone should be a scandal to begin with. But because we are sold short and remain the way we are even now, we accept and continue selling this way. Now, the obvious smart thing to do is begin selling finished products, okay? But as you probably already know, this cannot happen if we choose to continue being shortchanged because we accept mediocrity as a standard. We must raise our standard beyond this. Now, until we raise our standards, nothing changes. Mediocrity is the result of settling for less. Mediocrity is defined as the quality of something that is not very good, as a state of being substandard or average to below standard. So, what are the 7 causes of mediocrity? So, we're going to kind of jump into that. And I have what you call an amalgamation of content from 3 books, but there are much more. But these are good research books you can kind of run with and build further. All right, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Steve Covey, Atomic Habits, great book by James Clear, and Mindset, the New Psychology for Success by Carol Dweck. Okay, these can be summarized in the following words. So I've pretty much picked what they did and then kind of given a summary. So there are 7 things, right? So number 1, lack of clear goals. So unclear objectives lead to aimless effort. So we have sang this song, ad nauseum. Okay, we've told people over and over and over again that you need to set smart goals. Coach Sunshine adds the smarter goals. So she got the E and the R. So the idea is if your goals are not clear, there's a lot of aimless effort. It's like literally being a busybody. The busyness of being busy. The busyness of being. You're busy, but it's activity, but there are no results. There's no rhyme. There's no reason. There's no progress. There's no direction. You're just all over the place. And that's because you don't have clear, defined goals. I'm not here to teach you about goals today. I'm just telling you the 7 keys to mediocrity. So number 1 is that one. 2, fear of failure. Okay, this thing about risk aversion, this, unfortunately, I'll be very honest with you. Failure is not an enemy. It has never been one. But when you go through the education system, the one that they have, which is a schooling system, one thing they tend to do quite a bit is make failure look like such a horrible thing. And so because of that, a lot of people associate failure with being completely useless, which is actually not the case. In our space, we call failure feedback. So failure isn't the end of the world. It's just a feedback that's coming from whatever you're trying to do to let you know that whatever you're trying to do, this wouldn't work. So you need to do something much better. So that's what this whole idea behind failure is. Unfortunately, a lot of people who end up mediocre fear failure, so they never try. They never experiment. They never push boundaries to see where they go. And so they remain at just this level, which they can never go anywhere because it's like, nah, I'm better off here. But to be honest, if you want to make an impact, if you want to progress, you'll have to fail. Like, you have to come to terms with the fact that you're going to fail. And when you fail, it doesn't mean it's the end of the world. You will use that as a means to learn from it. Number 3, these are now 7, what do I call them? I call them 7 causes of mediocrity. Number 3, complacency. Now that's something that's very common in my country here in Zambia. I hate complacency. And there's a lot of complacent people. It's just this idea of just being satisfied with the status quo, just being satisfied with whatever is there. It's like, in our local languages, we even have a terminology, chikulu kwacha, like as long as the day has started, we're fine. It doesn't matter. Whatever happens, happens. No. We do not operate that way. There has to be a clear reason for why you're getting up and doing what you're doing. So complacency is a no-no. Unfortunately, people who operate in mediocrity, they are very complacent. Like whether it gets done or doesn't get done, it doesn't matter. And one of the worst service providers who demonstrate complacency at its best, in my opinion, is the council office. Those of you who've had the privilege of going to our council office in Lusaka, you will be depressed, to say the least, by just the attitude that people have. Like, they don't care. They're so demotivated. You ask yourself, why do they work? Then you remember, because they're waiting for money, for a salary. And so this service delivery is just, no one cares about it. Now, there are major reasons on how to change that, to do with cultural change and transformation, but that's not the lesson today. But see, these things are also determined by the desire of those who lead to change that kind of attitude. You see, talking about it at the top there is not going to make a difference. There has to be a complete overhaul, and it's a process. Because complacency creates a culture, like all other cultures. Complacency is a culture. And if you are used to being in that type of setup, you will operate and continue in that type of setup. So complacency is a very, very sad and depressing reality for most people. They're just happy with whatever's there. You know, God willing. No, God is in control. No, God is not in control. God gave you to be in control. Let me be very honest about that. You know, Genesis chapter 1, verse 26 and 27 is very categorical. God gave charge to man. He said, go, be fruitful, multiply, replenish, subdue, and have dominion. Five-fold mandate. So complacency is actually disobedience to God. I am here. I'm seriously telling you that. That's why God gave you the ability to do these things. That's why Joshua was told, be strong and take courage. Do not fear or be dismayed. So my question to you is, why are you complacent? Number 4, distractions and procrastination. This is another nightmare. I talked about how we deal with, oh no, that's not you. That's my coaching group. So we talked about the power of distraction, how distraction draws people away from achieving what they want to achieve. It's a very serious issue. Right now, in this day and age, we have a very big challenge because there's so much that competes for our attention. It's not important, but it competes for your attention. And so many times, those who have poor time management and those who do not know how to manage distractions tend to suffer mediocrity. So distractions and procrastination. Procrastination is the thief of time. That's what they say. I'll do it tomorrow. So doing tomorrow what you can do now. That's procrastination. It's a very serious challenge. A lot of people are by nature procrastinators. So we need to fight and make sure that we do what it takes. Now, procrastination, unfortunately, is a staple among so many people I know. And that's one of the reasons why they don't progress. The early bird catches the worm. Very true. Whoever gets into market first, whoever puts in what they need to put in, they are the ones who progress. So I've seen, and I know this is common in our circles. So I hear people saying, no, you know, I've got a spirit of stagnation. I'm not stagnate. I'm stagnating. I'm not seeing progress no matter what I do. No. Change the mindset. Push every single day. Don't worry about stagnation. Do what it takes. Are you putting 100%? And I really like to ask that question to a lot of people who talk about stagnation. I say, are you putting in 100%? Like, really, are you putting in 100%? I know most people aren't. I know for a fact because I know. You'll find that some of these people, they really are, they're looking for help. Oh no, I need help. I say, all right, let's be meeting every once a week on Thursday or whatever day it is. You make sure you come on and then let's do one-on-ones. Watch how the excuses start showing up after the 3rd week. I've given scholarships on my mentorship program. There are lots of people who come. I mean, on my page, on average, I receive 1 to 2 mentorship requests a day. 1 to 2 mentorship requests a day. So in a week, I've got roughly what? 14, 15, sometimes 20 requests a week. So in a month, of literally almost 100 requests a week on mentoring. In a month, over 500. Do you know what's interesting? There's a number of people I said, okay, can you come on the mentorship platform every morning at 7:30? What happens? Excuses after excuses after excuses. And that's why distractions and procrastination, distractions are serious. And for a lot of people, let me put it this way, some of the distractions are genuine. Like, I'm not going to lie. There are some distractions which are useless, like social media. But there are genuine distractions like, oh, I gotta take the kids to school. Oh, I gotta rush for work. Oh, I got exams coming up. Oh, I've got, life is doing its thing. Life is doing its thing. So the key now is how many people are able to overcome those distractions. How many are able to still rise up above the distractions and make way and become resourceful and go on to be, to do what it takes. Very few. And that's why I tell you that my experience has been, whether people pay, whether people come for free, only the serious will succeed. I've got people who are on scholarships who are dead serious and doing what it takes. I'm amazed. And there are people who've paid for the coaching and don't show up. I don't know. It's just how people are. So distractions and procrastination is another factor that leads to serious mediocrity. And then number 5, limited self-awareness. Now that's another one that we really teach powerfully, okay? Unrecognized strengths and weaknesses hinder potential. In our coaching program, we have a whole entire session dedicated to the identification of your strengths, a whole SWOT analysis, in line with your 8 key areas, your goals, your targets. We look at your fears, we look at your opportunities, we look at all manner of things, very detailed. Self-awareness is such a powerful tool because once you know who you are in the truest sense of the word, that's the beginning of your progress. That's the key to taking it to the next level. So this self-awareness is a huge factor we really push. Number 6, inadequate accountability. The lack of external pressure or self-discipline. How much are you accountable to yourself? Do you even monitor your own progress? Do you write down and take stock of where you are and where you'd like to be? Have you done a serious progression report to see where you stand and what are the issues that are standing in your way? Most people just think it's demons and devils because they don't want to take responsibility. That's why in our session, the first session was take responsibility. You are responsible for where you are now. Don't you blame anybody else. You are responsible for that. And even if you discover there are people working against you, guess what? You're a resourceful person. If you are a resourceful person and learn this art of resourcefulness, you will find a way out because the Bible tells us that God will never leave one without a way out. So there is a way out, but where the heck is the way? Look for that way and you will find it. Then number 7, insufficient continuous learning. Okay, so stagnation due to lack of new skills and knowledge. This is another place where a lot of people, instead of doing what it takes to learn more so that they can progress in their lives, they choose to just remain with the same skills that they left school with. That, my friend, will keep you mediocre. So, in addition, other factors include perfectionism. That's another one I used to suffer from a lot. I would spend so much time trying to make something perfect before it starts. You know what? As long as it's a working model, go out there and start. Don't worry about the perfection. You perfect as you go along. Okay? Comparison to others. Don't even bother looking at what others are doing because that's going to hurt you. Focus on where you need to go. Look to them only for inspiration. Don't look to them and say, oh my God, they're so ahead of me. What's the point? No. Lack of motivation, I understand. But you know what? There is something we teach in neuropsychology called the locus of control. If you learn to have an internal locus of control where you determine your own destiny by what you can control 100% inside of you, you can progress. So do not allow circumstances or situations to motivate you. Be self-motivated. Ineffective habits, poor physical and mental well-being, unclear priorities and inefficient systems and processes. All right, so one can overcome mediocrity by doing these or similar things, which we have covered ad nauseum on this platform. Okay, what are those things? Setting smart goals, embracing calculated risks, seeking feedback and accountability, prioritizing self-care, continuous learning and upskilling, eliminating distractions and celebrating small wins. Okay, the only way one can seriously overcome these is to stop the blame game and take responsibility. Something we have already covered extensively in these series. We need to realize that all change starts with each one of us, and that we must be the change we want to see around us. We must become exceptional in our performance. Exceptional is the result of achieving beyond current performance. Don't drive people to become remarkable. Instead, be that yourself and then give them the challenge that inspires their hearts into replicating what it is you are doing. Okay, so we hold the keys to the change we seek. So if we really want to see Africa raise its standards, it starts with ourselves. We as individuals need to raise our standards. If we're not going to raise our standards as individuals, there's absolutely no way that we're going to see ourselves progress. So you and I need to raise our own standards. You and I need to be deliberate about progressing to the next level. We must be very deliberate about that. And that's how we'll see ourselves progress. So next week, we will be looking at the third of the 7 key factors to transforming Africa, namely changing our beliefs. But when I get to this one, this will be a tough one. Changing our beliefs. But I can tell you with my heart and my soul that for many of us on this call right now and those who watch later, our beliefs play a very big role in affecting where we are now. So I look forward to seeing you then. Remember, share this video, let others know about what's going on, and we look forward to seeing you tomorrow when Coach Sunshine comes through and does her part, which is Mindset Change Program. Have a great morning and God bless you.